The town of Ashwood had a tradition no one spoke of. Every Halloween, families would carve pumpkins, not for fun, not for candy, but for protection. At first glance, the town looked normal. Kids running through the streets, laughter in the chilly night air, porch lights glowing. But everyone knew the real reason they carved the faces: to keep something beneath the fields from waking. This year, I was new. I had moved into a small house on the edge of town, thinking Halloween was just about costumes and candy. I didn't know about the pumpkin warning. That night, I noticed them. Rows of perfectly carved pumpkins lining the street, their grins not funny, but sharp, almost alive. I shrugged it off as quaint tradition. But as darkness fell, a cold wind swept across the fields behind the town, and the pumpkins began to flicker. Not with light, but with something darker, like shadows stretching from the mouths and eyes. I felt it in my chest, a low, pressing tension, as if the earth beneath Ashwood itself was holding its breath. I knocked on my neighbor's door to ask about it. An elderly man answered, his eyes wide, voice trembling. "You carve 'em, or it comes out. You never skip a year." I laughed nervously. "It's just pumpkins, right?" He stared at me. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "It's been waiting a long time." I couldn't sleep that night. The wind from the fields whispered through the cracks in my window, carrying something old. Curiosity, or maybe fear, pulled me outside. The street was empty, but the pumpkins glowed faintly, their carved faces twisting in shadows that weren't quite mine. I walked toward the edge of town, to the fields behind the houses. The ground was uneven, mist curling around the roots and fallen leaves. Then I saw it, a faint, shifting shape beneath the soil, moving slowly under the ground. A mass of darkness, restless, stretching just beneath the pumpkins. I stumbled backward. The wind swirled, carrying a voice so soft I almost didn't hear it. "Don't wake me. Don't forget." I froze. Every pumpkin I passed seemed to twitch, its grin sharper, more urgent. The shadows from their eyes reached out across the dirt like tendrils, pulling at the corners of my vision. I ran back to my house. I found my neighbor still awake, staring at the same fields from his porch. He didn't speak at first. Then he said, voice tight, "They're patient, but they notice when you're careless." I understood then. Halloween in Ashwood wasn't a celebration. It was a containment ritual. And if someone skipped a year... I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. Every gust of wind seemed to whisper through the streets, through the trees, through the carved pumpkins. At dawn, I stepped outside again. The mist clung low over the fields, curling like fingers. I noticed something strange. One pumpkin, the closest to my house, had a grin I hadn't carved, sharper, wider, more alive. Then I saw movement beneath it, subtle, like the soil was breathing. I froze. My neighbor came out silently and handed me a small carving knife. "You carve it, or it wakes," he said simply. My hands shook. I carved the pumpkin exactly like the others, tracing the familiar lines, forcing the grin to match the rest. When I finished, the soil stilled. The shadows vanished. The air felt lighter, but only for a moment. He leaned closer and whispered, "It's patient, and it remembers." I looked at the field. The darkness beneath the earth seemed to settle, but I knew it was only waiting for next Halloween. And I knew I'd never skip a year again.